All right, gang. On this one, we're going to talk about relative maxima and minima. Okay, when analyzing a graph, a lot of times we want to know what the maximum values are or minimum values are. And for those of you who are wondering, maxima and minima are the plurals of maximum and minimum. Well, we have two different ways of describing these maximums and these maxima and minima. We use either the term relative or absolute. Relative is used to indicate that the point is a maximum or minimum in their general vicinity, but not for the entire graph. There's points that are actually higher or lower. Absolute is the absolute maximum or minimum. You'll get a better idea of what I mean in the example that we're going to do. So we have a function here. And first thing I want you to know is I didn't put arrows on the end there, but it's safe to assume that the graph increases without bound on both the left hand and the right hand. And so just kind of taking a look at this, trying to figure out what a maximum and minimum values are on here. I noticed that one first, and I would call that one a relative min. And why do you think I would call it a relative min? Well, I would call that one a relative minimum because it's the bottom in that general area, in this area from there to there, but it's not absolute. There is a point that's lower than that. And the next thing that I see is right there, it looks like a maximum. Why would I call it a relative maximum and not an absolute maximum? Well, kind of the same reason. Remember, it goes forever in that direction and that direction. So this is all higher than that point right there. So it's only a relative. And lastly, as I mentioned a second ago, that's an absolute minimum. There is nothing that is any lower than that point in the entire graph. So what I want you to keep in mind when they ask you for relative maxima or minima is you need to do two things. You need to first establish whether or not it's a relative or an absolute, and you also have to include the actual coordinate of that maximum or minimum. So your answers would be a relative min at -5, -1.3, a relative max at -2, 4, and an absolute min at 5, -6. That's the end of the video. Adios.